What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Now, I know that the NLCS between the Dodgers and the Braves has concluded. It went to 6 games. The Braves beat the Dodgers in the series and are now on their way to the World Series, and they will face the Houston Astros for Game 1 in Houston, Texas. But instead of going over the series game by game, I really don't want to do that. I want to focus on the World Series, but there is one thing that I found very interesting when it comes to a comment that Dodger manager Dave Roberts made after Game 6 was over. They were eliminated, and he said this during his post-game interview. Now, I mean, you saw it in the title. Dave Roberts called out Trevor Bauer, and, you know, it wasn't an obvious bashing by Roberts to Bauer, but if you watched it and you kind of really listened to what Dave Roberts said, it looked like, it seemed like, at least to me, that Dave Roberts was undoubtedly taking a few shots at Trevor Bauer. And it kind of looked like he was blaming Trevor for the Dodgers coming up short in this series. And you think, why would he do that? And to be honest, I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, he didn't have a curt tone about him, but the way he said it, and it just seems like he was referring to the whole Trevor Bauer situation. You guys know what it is. But it just seemed like Roberts was taking a few shots at Bauer and blaming Bauer for the Dodgers' obstacles the team had to overcome during 2021. So I want to show you the clip of what Dave Roberts actually said during the post-game presser, and I'll come back and I'll give you my thoughts on it. But here's a quote.
I think for my message to our guys, it was basically, it was a tremendous season. It was a heck of a year. Going through a lot of different things that we went through that no one talked about, no one needed to talk about, and didn't let it affect our performance. And that's something I was proud of. So
you saw what he said there. Now, it might seem a little foggy to you of what I'm really talking about. Maybe, maybe not. But if it is, I'm going to clear it up for you a little bit here. So this is where I think Dave Roberts calls out Trevor Bauer, maybe indirectly, but I think he's really referring to Trevor Bauer here. So Dave Roberts says, quote, "It was a tremendous season. It was a heck of a year. Going through a lot of different things we went through." Now here it is. That no one talked about, that no one needed to talk about, and didn't let it affect our performance, and that's something I was proud of. And it's right there. That no one talked about, no one needed to talk about. Talk about what? Well, what is he referring to? Injuries? We all know, you know, the injuries are just part of the game. What do you mean no need to talk about? Of course you're going to talk about injuries. Yeah, you're going to talk about that, Price was gone. You're going to talk about Kershaw was gone for the postseason. You're going to talk about that type of stuff. You're going to talk about Cody Bellinger's struggles throughout the regular season. You're going to talk about that. But what you're not going to talk about is what happened with Trevor Bauer. And you know what happened with Trevor Bauer. The whole allegations scenario. And what happened with the woman in, California and Ohio. So it just seems like Dave Roberts called out Trevor Bauer after they lost to the Braves in this championship series. And again, it just made me raise an eyebrow when I heard Roberts say, going through a lot of different things that we went through, that no one talked about, that no one needed to talk about. It's the 2 sentences in the middle there, that no one talked about and no one needed to talk about. So you know he's referring to Trevor Bauer. I mean, it's just obvious. And to me, I guess the point is that I was shocked that Dave Roberts would say something like this post-game interview. Trevor Bauer has not been addressed by anybody in the Dodger organization since the whole allegations were brought about. It just doesn't seem right that Roberts decides to kind of, blame Bauer for the Dodgers' struggles. And I understand, you signed the guy, he was a Cy Young, well-deserved with the money. He's a hell of a pitcher. He's a great pitcher. He was a good pitcher when he pitched for the Dodgers. I mean, you guys can't forget, when he was on the mound, he was really good for the Dodgers in, the first 2 months of the season there. And again, why would you blame Bauer for your loss to the Braves. He had nothing to do with it. Now, again, if he was in the rotation, would you have won? You never know. I mean, yeah, you could have. Maybe you would have got into a 7th game if Bauer was able to pitch Game 6. Maybe you were able, to win a game in Atlanta if you would have pitched Game 1 or something. Sure, that's all possible. But, the point is, he wasn't available the whole season. Oh, and by the way, you still got to the NLCS. And by the way, during the regular season, you won 106 games. The most in franchise history. I mean, who would have thunk that the Giants would go win 107? And they were 1 game back of the Giants. 1 game back. So, you can't blame them. Well, if Bauer was in the whole season, maybe we could have won that 1 extra game against the Giants. Or, we could have done this, we could have done that if he was healthy. Yeah, well, you also, probably could have beat the Braves if, Kershaw was healthy. You also could have beat the Braves if Price was healthy. You also could have probably won the division if, Cody Bellinger didn't suck throughout the whole regular season. You could have done a lot of things differently. And I just think that is really, really Bush League for a manager to, in my mind, again, it looks like he did it because who else would he be referring to? Calling out Trevor Bauer for, the Dodgers' lack of accomplishing their goal. And, again, Trevor Bauer, when he was there, he was good. He wasn't, the problem when he was there on the mound. He was a good thing. He was benefiting the Dodgers greatly. He was getting wins. I mean, I think he was undefeated the first couple of months there. He barely got a loss. He was dominant. It was the first time I actually thought, wow, this guy could repeat as Cy Young, because in my mind, when a guy gets a Cy Young in a contract year and the guy gets a big contract, I was skeptical of Bauer. Although I like Bauer, I was skeptical that, he was going to implode coming to the Dodgers. Because, it's LA, it's a, big market, a lot of pressure, defending World Series champions, and would he, just go on the mound and just, take a dump every time he got a start? No, he didn't. He was great. And if it wasn't for what happened with him, he probably would have repeated as a Cy Young in the National League. I really do believe that, because the first 2 months really showed me that this guy is just different. He's just different. In good and bad ways, he's different, but he's really different when it comes to his determination, his focus on what he wants to set out and do. And I really think if it wasn't for what happened, he would have repeated as Cy Young and probably would have started Game 1 of every series the Dodgers were in the playoffs, and they probably could have beat the Braves. Or they probably could have at least won a game in Atlanta. I think it was totally unfair for Roberts to do is call out Trevor Bauer, but that's all I got. Comment down below your thoughts on what Dave Roberts said in his post-game presser after the loss in Game 6 of the Braves. Like, comment, subscribe on the road to 1K, and as always, I'm going to catch you guys later.